In other news, President Trump is cutting his G7 trip short as Israel and Iran are trading these devastating strikes. Mark Meredith joins us live now with more. Mark?
Ainsley, good morning to you. President Trump is back at the White House after cutting his trip to Canada short. The president making it very clear he does not believe in any uncertain terms that Iran should have any nuclear weapon capabilities. But the president was also asked on Air Force One on his way back to D.C. why he decided he needed to come back to D.C. so quickly. Listen to what he had to say.
We're not looking for a ceasefire. I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for better than a ceasefire. Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You don't have to go too deep into it. They just can't have a nuclear weapon.
What was the thinking on the call for Tehran to evacuate? Is there a threat or is there incoming? What was the thinking on the full evacuation?
I want people to be safe.
Now, the president was in Canada meeting with many world leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron. And while he was there, the president signed on to an agreement calling for peace in the Middle East, but also was critical of some comments that Macron made. Macron was suggesting that the reason that Trump was heading back to the U.S. was to create a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Trump put out on Truth Social, publicity-seeking Macron of France mistakenly said that I left the G7 to go back to D.C. to work on a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Wrong. He has no idea why I'm on my way to D.C., but it certainly has nothing to do with the ceasefire. Much bigger than that, whether purposely or not. Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. We'll be looking to see if the French president has any new reaction while he is still in Canada. But the president, he is back here in D.C. meeting with his national security team. We don't have an updated schedule yet, guys, so we don't know if we'll see the president address the situation on camera later today. But, of course, there are so many developments happening in real time. And Brian, Lawrence, and Hazel?
It's not the Israeli-Iran conflict. I get it. But the president is on a fast track to get a trade deal, it looks like, with Canada. He had formally signed the one with the U.K. And I personally think that he was not thrilled about the Ukrainian talks that were on tap. He probably knows he's going to get pressured to hit Russia with sanctions. I don't think he was really looking forward to that session. Do you think that played into it, Mark?
Well, Brian, Macron and Trump have certainly had interesting relationships over the last year. Trump last year praised him as a pretty smart guy, but obviously we've seen the back and forth that Macron has had. He's been very vocal when it comes to the Ukraine issue, and Macron obviously wanting to keep Europe and the U.S. involved with Ukraine. However, I would imagine with so much of the focus, though, for the president's going to be on what happens next with whether or not Israel goes forward with an even larger attack against Tehran. Trump was asked about that on the plane, why he said the people of Tehran should evacuate. He didn't elaborate further, but obviously people are reading between the lines that a possibility of a major attack is still on the table.
All right, Mark. Yeah. Thanks so much. Do you know if they made up at all, the Macrons? I mean, after that little incident on the plane?
The president and his wife?
Chris, could you follow up on that?
Yeah. Well, they also released that statement, that joint statement yesterday, the G7, and I'm like, when are these countries going to learn to stop making statements when the U.S. is not on the statement? It's like, okay, everybody but the U.S., the U.S. is what the power is of the statement, and they try to undercut the president.
He's like, I'm not
signing the statement.
I actually appreciate what he said on the plane, because during the gaggle, he said Macron, he said he's a nice guy, but he's got this wrong. And in another statement, this was on Truth Social, he said, whether purposely or not, Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned.
Right. I will say this. I think we agree on this. He has got a great tailor, right?
Macron?
Those are great suits. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Every suit.
The Europeans normally do pretty well in the suit department.
Right. They really know what they're doing.
I've been trying to help you out.
I know.
If you live in France and you're the president, I would expect that.
Right. Not everybody, but he's got it going on. Yeah, because he just gets on the president's nerves.
That's what matters is the suit.
Right.
I think the president just thinks he's not as strong. He's weaker.
He's also a publicity hound.
He is.
He's always trying to jump
That's what he was saying.
And the president doesn't like it.
Yeah, he called him publicity seeking.
Right.
He is.
I used hound.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.